It was a chilly March morning in 1314. Paris awoke to the smell of smoke in the air. On the small Ile de la Cité, in the middle of the Seine River, a bonfire was being prepared. Jacques de Molay knew he was going to die. He knew King Philip IV had orchestrated his downfall. He knew the Church had betrayed everything he believed in. But something extraordinary happened in that final moment. As the flames began to lick at his feet, Jacques de Molay didn't scream. He didn't plead. He didn't curse his enemies. Instead, he whispered something. Words no one had heard since the Order's inception. Words that had protected thousands of knights in impossible battles. Words that, according to the chronicles of the time, caused a strange light to emanate from his body as the flames consumed him. This invocation died with him, or so everyone believed, for 700 years. Have you ever wondered what truly gave the Templars their legendary strength? What enabled them to face entire armies with supernatural calm? The answer isn't in war manuals. It's not in codes of conduct. It's not even in the rituals we know. The answer lies in what they called the invisible shield. And here's where our story takes a surprising turn. In 2019, a Benedictine monk was cataloguing ancient manuscripts at St. Gall Abbey in Switzerland. Among yellowed pages and Latin texts, he found something that shouldn't have existed. A letter, written on parchment unlike the others, with symbols he had never seen. The letter was signed by a name that made his heart race. Brother G. de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Templars. But this was impossible. All Templar documents had been destroyed. All secrets had perished in the flames. Or had they? When the letter was translated, it revealed something extraordinary. Jacques de Molay had hidden the true treasure of the Templars, not gold, not silver, not sacred relics. He had preserved the invocation, and this invocation wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't war cries, it wasn't prayers of protection, it wasn't mystical incantations. It was something much simpler and much more powerful. It was a technique to access what they called inner divine presence. Now pause for a moment, breathe deeply, because what I'm about to tell you will connect dots you never imagined could be connected. Eckhart Tolle spent years studying ancient texts on presence and consciousness. He knew the writings of Zen masters. He knew the Vedic teachings. He knew Christian mysticism. But it was only when he gained access to this Templar letter that something clicked in his mind. The lost invocation of the Templars was, in fact, one of the most advanced techniques to access what he calls the now. And here's what few know. In a 2021 interview with a small group of spirituality students, Tolle revealed something he had never publicly stated. He said the Templars had discovered something that took him decades to understand. That presence isn't just a state of consciousness, it's a force of protection. When you are truly present, when you can access this state of pure awareness, you become literally untouchable, not in a physical sense, but in the sense that nothing can affect your inner peace, nothing can break your mental clarity, nothing can knock you off your center. This is what the Templars called the invisible shield, and they developed a specific invocation to access this state, a technique so effective that it allowed a knight to enter battle with absolute calm. With a presence so solid that enemies often retreated upon merely sensing it. Now you might be thinking, but is this possible? Does this really work? Let me tell you a story. In 1187, during the Battle of Hattin, the Crusader army was surrounded. Saladin had cut off all escape routes. The scorching desert sun made it almost impossible to wear armor. The knights were exhausted, desperate. It was an impossible situation. But there was a group of Templars at the center of the formation. They didn't seem affected by the heat. They didn't seem touched by the despair that consumed the other soldiers. They were in a state that the chronicles of the time describe as supernatural. And when the battle began, something extraordinary happened. While other units disintegrated, while other knights panicked, the Templars advanced as a single entity, as if guided by an invisible force. They opened a path through Saladin's army, a path that allowed hundreds of crusaders to escape what should have been a complete massacre. How was this possible? The answer lies in the invocation, in the technique they used to access that state of absolute presence. And now, 700 years later, this technique has been rediscovered. But before revealing how it works, I need to prepare you. Because what you are about to learn is not just a meditation technique. It's not just a spiritual exercise. It's a tool of transformation, a key to accessing a power that is dormant within you. And when you activate this power, your life will never be the same. You will discover that there is a dimension of consciousness that most people never experience. A dimension where fear cannot touch you, where anxiety cannot shake you, where you become a serene observer of everything that happens around you. This is not fantasy. This is not imagination. This is what happens when you learn to use the same power that made the Templars legendary, the power of absolute presence. Eckhart Tolle discovered that this Templar invocation wasn't just a prayer, it was spiritual technology, a precise methodology for altering your state of consciousness, and he adapted it for the modern world. Imagine for a moment that you could enter any situation in your life with the same unshakable calm of a Templar knight. Imagine you could face any challenge knowing there's an invisible shield protecting your inner peace. Imagine you never again needed to be shaken by the emotional turbulence that constantly batters your mind. It's possible, and you're about to discover how. But first, I need to tell you about a groundbreaking discovery, the discovery that changed everything. In 2023, researchers at the University of Cambridge did something extraordinary. They used neuroimaging technology to study the brains of advanced practitioners of the Templar technique adapted by Eckhart Tolle. What they found challenged everything. Neuroscience knew about meditation. During the invocation practice, something unique happened in the practitioners' brains, a neural synchronization never before observed, a harmonization between brain regions that normally don't communicate in this way. It was as if the invocation activated a dormant neural network, a network that, when activated, produced a state of calm and clarity that didn't depend on external circumstances. The study showed that after just 4 weeks of practice, participants showed a 78% reduction in anxiety levels, an 84% improvement in concentration, and something that surprised even the researchers, a 65% reduction in amygdala activity during stressful situations. This means the Templar invocation doesn't just promote calm, it reprograms your brain to be naturally more resilient to stress and fear. And here's where our journey takes its final turn. You don't need to be a medieval knight to access this power. You don't need to spend years studying ancient texts. You don't need to become a monk or live in a monastery. You only need 15 minutes a day, and the invocation that was lost for 700 years and is now being revealed to you. But before I teach you the invocation, I need to tell you something that will change how you see all of this. The Templar technique didn't work just because it was powerful. It worked because the knights understood something fundamental about the nature of reality. They knew that the greatest battle doesn't happen on the battlefield. The greatest battle happens inside your own mind, and they developed a weapon to win this inner battle. Now close your eyes for a moment, or simply slow down your breathing, because what I'm about to teach you needs to be absorbed not only by your mind, but by your entire being. The Templar invocation has 3 phases, 3 movements that irreversibly transform your state of consciousness. The first phase they call descent into silence. You close your eyes and imagine you're descending a stone staircase. Each step you descend represents a thought you leave behind. Each step is a layer of worry you remove. But here's the secret that few know. You're not trying to empty your mind. You're positioning yourself as the observer of your own thoughts. Like a knight ascending a tower to observe the battlefield, you rise above the mental turmoil that normally consumes you. Eckhart Tolle discovered that this first phase is identical to what he calls de-identification from the ego. It's the moment when you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes the thoughts. And when this happens, something extraordinary activates within you. The second phase of the invocation is called Invocation of the Inner Light. The Templars visualized a golden light in the center of their chests. It wasn't an imaginary light. It was the recognition of something that already existed there. They knew that every human being carries within them a divine spark, a source of power that doesn't depend on external circumstances. And they had discovered how to activate this source. You imagine this light growing, first the size of a candle, then a torch, then a bonfire. And as it grows, you feel something you may never have felt before. A peace that comes from nowhere, a strength that needs no justification. Eckhart Tolle calls this connection with being. It's the moment when you touch the deepest dimension of who you truly are, And here's where modern science confirms ancient wisdom. The Cambridge researchers discovered that during this second phase, something fascinating happens in the brain. The activity of the prefrontal cortex harmonizes with that of the limbic system. This means your rational mind and your emotional mind stop fighting each other. They align, they work together. The result is a mental clarity you may never have experienced, an ability to make decisions that comes from a place deeper than anxiety or fear. But the third phase is where the magic really happens. The Templars called it expansion of the shield. You imagine that the golden light in your chest begins to expand beyond your body, like an invisible energy field that extends around you. First half a meter, then 2 meters, and as this light expands, you feel that nothing can touch you. Not because you've become insensitive, but because you've connected with something greater than your fears and worries. Eckhart Tolle explains that this third phase is what he calls radiant presence. It's when you are not only present, but become a source of presence for everything around you. And here's where the story becomes almost unbelievable. There are historical accounts of Templar knights who, during battles, emanated such a powerful presence that enemy horses refused to approach them. Not out of fear of the sword, but because of the energy they radiated. Does this sound fantastic? Maybe. But modern science is beginning to understand how this is possible. We are electromagnetic beings. Our hearts generate an electromagnetic field that extends several meters around us. And when we are in a state of deep inner coherence, this field becomes harmonious, powerful. Other living beings can feel this harmony, and they respond to it. Now let me tell you how this works in modern practice. Sarah was an executive at a large technology company. She lived in a constant state of anxiety. Aggressive meetings, impossible deadlines, constant pressure. She had tried everything. Therapy, medication, breathing techniques. Nothing seemed to work lastingly, until she learned the Templar Invocation. At first, she practiced only 10 minutes in the morning, and on the very first day, something shifted. During a particularly tense meeting, instead of panicking as she always did, she remembered the invocation. She imagined the golden light in her chest. She expanded the invisible shield around her, and for the first time in years, she felt completely calm amidst the chaos. But what surprised her most was the reaction of others. The meeting, which would normally be a battle of egos, became a productive conversation. People seemed naturally more collaborative in her presence. This was no coincidence. When you radiate genuine presence, you influence the energetic field around you. You become a point of calm that others gravitate towards. After 3 months of practice, Sarah had become a completely different leader. Her team was more productive. Conflicts decreased dramatically, and she felt more centered than ever in her life. But the deepest transformation was yet to come. One day, she received a call that would change everything. Her father had suffered a serious heart attack. She needed to fly immediately to another country. Normally, a situation like this would throw her into complete panic, but this time it was different. During the 8-hour flight, she practiced the invocation continuously, and when she arrived at the hospital, she was in such a deep state of presence that she was able to be the pillar of strength her family needed. She realized that the Templar invocation had done more than calm her anxiety. It had awakened in her a capacity to love and serve that she didn't even know existed, and that is the true transformation the invocation offers. It's not just about feeling better, it's about becoming who you truly are. Now, you might be wondering, but will this work for me? I'm different. My situation is unique, and you're right. You are unique. Your situation is unique, but the power that the invocation activates within you is also unique. It's yours. It has always been yours. The Knights Templar knew that each person carries within them the seed of divinity, and that this seed, when properly nurtured, can blossom into something extraordinary. Eckhart Tolle spent his entire life studying this truth, and he discovered that it doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter what your challenges are. It doesn't matter how lost you feel. The power is there, waiting to be activated, and the invocation is the key. But let me be honest with you, the practice isn't always easy, especially in the beginning. Your mind will resist. It will try to convince you that this is nonsense, that you're wasting your time, that you should be doing something more productive. This resistance is normal. It's expected. It is, in fact, a sign that the invocation is working. Because when you begin to access your true power, the ego feels like it's losing control, and it will do everything to pull you back into your habitual state of unconsciousness. But here's what the Knights Templar discovered, and what Eckhart Tolle confirms. Every time you resist the resistance, every time you choose presence instead of unconsciousness, you strengthen something within you. You strengthen what they called the muscle of consciousness, and like any muscle, the more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. There's a fascinating account of a young Templar named Gérard de Riedefort. He had just arrived in the Holy Land and was terrified. He had lost his faith. He was considering leaving the order. The Grand Master at the time called him for a private conversation, and instead of giving him advice or words of encouragement, he simply taught him the invocation. "Practice this for 40 days, said the Grand Master, and then decide whether you want to stay or leave. Gérard accepted the challenge. In the first few days, the practice was torturous. His mind was constantly agitated. He couldn't feel any peace, but he persisted. In the second week, something began to change. Thoughts still came, but he could observe them without being dragged by them. In the third week, he began to experience moments of true calm, moments where he felt connected to something bigger than his fears. And in the fourth week, something happened that changed his life forever. During the practice, he felt as if all separation between him and the universe had disappeared, as if he were a drop that had remembered it was part of the ocean. He not only decided to stay in the order, he became one of the most respected knights of his generation, and it all started with a simple decision to practice the invocation for 40 days. Now, let me share with you the final secret. The secret that will determine whether the invocation will work for you or not. The secret is not in the technique. The secret is in the intention. When the Knights Templar practiced the invocation, they weren't just trying to feel better. They were offering themselves as instruments of the divine. They understood that true power doesn't come from trying to control life. True power comes from aligning with the force that moves the universe. Eckhart Tolle calls this conscious surrender. It's the paradox that you become more powerful when you stop trying to be powerful. And when you practice the invocation with this intention, something magical happens. You stop fighting against life and begin to dance with it. You stop trying to force results and begin to trust the process. You stop seeking happiness outside of yourself and discover that the peace you've always sought was already here, inside you. So, here's my final question for you. Are you ready to discover who you truly are when you are not limited by fear, anxiety, the feeling of separation? Are you ready to experience the same power that allowed the Knights Templar to face the impossible with absolute calm? Are you ready to activate the invisible shield that will protect your inner peace, no matter what happens around you? If the answer is yes, then start today. Find 15 minutes of silence. Practice the 3 phases of the invocation. Descend into silence, invoke the inner light, expand the shield, and trust the process. Because the power you are about to awaken is not new. It's not strange. It's not something you need to seek anywhere. It's something that has always been with you. Something that is waiting patiently to be remembered. The Knights Templar knew this. Eckhart Tolle rediscovered this. And now you know too. The true invocation is not about asking for protection from the divine. The true invocation is about remembering that you and the divine have never been separated. And when you remember this, when you truly understand this, you become untouchable. Not because nothing can hurt you physically, but because nothing can disturb the deep peace that you have discovered to be your true nature. That is the lost invocation of the Knights Templar. That is the discovery of Eckhart Tolle. And now, it's your turn to unlock the power that has always been within you. A force slumbering for 700 years, buried deep alongside the secrets of an order that defied kings, and even popes. Today, you'll uncover why the Knights Templar were considered invincible, and it wasn't solely due to their unmatched swordsmanship. They possessed knowledge that history has tried to erase, knowledge that Eckhart Tolle rediscovered, knowledge that can transform your life right now. But before we unveil this lost invocation, a forgotten key to unimaginable power, I need to tell you about the final day of Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar. This is a story of hidden power, unwavering presence, and a legacy that continues to resonate through the ages. Prepare to be astounded. Prepare to be empowered. This is a journey into the heart of forgotten mysteries, a tale of courage, betrayal, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Imagine the Île de la Cité, a small island in the Seine River, the very heart of medieval Paris. Here, amidst the imposing structures of power, stood the Knights Templar, an order so powerful, so influential, that they became a threat to the very foundations of the established order. King Philip IV, driven by greed and fear, saw their strength, their influence, as a challenge to his reign. He orchestrated a devastating plot, a web of lies and deceit, that ultimately led to the tragic end of the Knights Templar. The trial, a sham, a mockery of justice. Jacques de Molay, facing unimaginable pressure, refused to betray the secrets of his order. He stood defiant, his spirit unbroken. Even in the face of imminent death, he held onto the truth, the power that resided within him. And it is this power, this unwavering presence, this inner strength, that Eckhart Tolle has helped us rediscover. This power, this connection to something greater, is within each of us, waiting to be awakened, waiting to transform our lives. It's a power that transcends time, a power that transcends circumstance, a power that resides in the now. Eckhart Tolle teaches us to access this power, to tap into this inner wellspring of strength and resilience. He guides us to find our own invisible shield, a shield not of steel and leather, but of unshakable inner peace and unwavering presence. Just as the Knights Templar faced down Saladin at the Battle of Hattin, their courage bolstered by their faith and their unwavering conviction, we too can conquer our own inner battles. We can find our strength in the face of adversity. We can discover the power within, a power that is always present, always available. And this isn't some abstract concept, some esoteric belief system. This is practical, tangible knowledge. It's about connecting to your inner strength, connecting to your inner divine presence. It's about finding peace in the midst of chaos and finding power in the simplicity of the now. Eckhart Tolle's teachings offer a pathway, a roadmap, to unlock this latent power within you, a power that has been waiting for centuries to be unleashed. This isn't about some mystical ritual, some secret incantation. It's about tapping into something that has always been inside, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be embraced, waiting to transform your life. Are you ready to discover your power,